Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with another horror movie review, except not for that third installment of that French of those two other movies I did recently, and it's not that franchise. No, this is for an original horror movie from the 90s. Yeah, which people think is like to call a slasher movie, but personally, I don't really find this to be a slasher movie. It's since the main villain, this one's not really a slasher. He's kind of more of a demon guy. Really, just has somewhat of a slasher weapon for a hand, but he is still kind of a horror icon. And this is one of those films that I feel like deserves a lot more praise than what it gets. I mean, it does have a cult following from horror fans, but other than that, I think it deserves much more acclaim than what it gets. And that is for 1992's Candyman, starring Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen. Yeah. So, I consider some of the greatest horror films of the 90s, and definitely among the scariest films of the 90s. And definitely one of the scariest films of all time. And the reason why is because, unlike most films that are slasher, this one doesn't rely on just slice and dice like Halloween sequels, or Elm Street sequels, or Friday the 13th sequels. This film actually kind of relies on dread and tension. It kind of has more atmospheric scares, and that's why I find it a really terrifying movie. Like, I watched this when lockdown started, and it really terrified the shit out of me when I saw it. And eventually, when that lockdown was eventually finally lifted, or eventually this year, around the beginning of this year, I finally bought this movie at my local Walmart in the bargain bin, and I immediately had to get my hands on it. And I'm going to be reviewing it in prep for the upcoming new movie we're getting, which I really hope is good because, well, technically that's not the only sequel Candyman's gotten. It's got two sequels called Candyman Farewell to the Flesh and Candyman 3 Day of the Dead, which are both known for being absolute complete freaking dumpster fires. Just like, then again, at least it only got two sequels, unlike the several freaking sequels Hellraiser got, which is... And the reason I mention that is because this movie and Hellraiser are also written by Clive Barker. So yeah. But yeah, much like Hellraiser, the first one's the only good one so far, but I really hope this new film coming out can actually change that. From what I've seen in the trailers, anyways. So what is the film about? Well, grad student Helen Lyle and her peer Bernadette investigate urban legends as a part of Helen's thesis project. In doing so, they uncover the lore of the Candyman, a slave executed during the 18th century and who wields a hook for a hand. Helen makes the mistake of invoking him, but it seems her destiny has been leading her to him all along. Man. Just like, there are so many other horror films made around the 90s that have the great horror films, and Candyman is such a Scream. Well, to me, only Scream 1 and Scream 2 are kind of the few other, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, a few other good movies to come out of, horror films to come out of the 90s, but Candyman is also one of them. Basically, it's based off Clive Barker's short story, The Forbidden. This take relocates the story to inner city Chicago, examining race and social inequities as opposed to the source material's analysis of the English class system. It's a bold move, but a sensible one, and allows for a more nuanced exploration. What sets Candyman apart from most other slashers is its brilliant slow pacing. This movie takes its time to build up the story and characters. It is also most psychological as you wonder what's real or not. And also, it even contains some incredible themes of urban legends, seeing how even after since this message is even after death, murderers live on through people's memories. Often told as campfire stories or Halloween tales, like Jack. And actually, even though he's quite a horrific monster, stress murderer, Candyman actually is kind of a tragic character. You don't really sympathize with him. And you do learn of his backstory, and you kind of somewhat feel sorry for him. He wants to live on as an urban legend because that's all he has left at this point, and he was robbed of the love of his life and brutally murdered. Technically, before he became a killer, he was an innocent man killed for no reason. And this one probably has, also, this probably has one of the scariest scenes in a horror movie ever. Basically, Candyman's first appearance, he causes Helen to pass out, and then when Helen next wakes up, she finds herself in this apartment. She hears Anne-Marie screaming, and she finds, like, I think she finds blood on her clothes or something, and she discovers that her guard dog, no, Anne-Marie's guard dog was slaughtered by Candyman, and basically she's now pretty much framed for the whole attack, and has actually kidnapped Anne-Marie's baby son, William, who's going to be the protagonist in the upcoming new movie, guys. And, hold on. The ability that director Bernard knows has to create a palpable sense of dread is evident in every frame of this film. This is what, like, true horror should really be. And Candyman is suspenseful, it's creepy, in fact. Yeah. The casting's actually pretty good, too. Virginia Madsen is really well cast as Helen, a flawed but likable heroine that audience cares deeply about. Her journey to madness is one we emphasize with every brutal step of the way. You don't want bad things to happen to her because bad things happen to her at all. And Tony Todd has a really terrifying performance as Candyman as well. I mean, yeah, it's probably one of the best characters he's played. And, well, I'm not, and I will admit this, guys, I'm not exactly very familiar with the works of Clive Barker. He's clearly one of the talented writers, was clearly one of the most talented writers in horror back around this movie. Like, only this film and Hellraiser were kind of the only stuff I really liked from him. Well, first this movie of this series, only the first one. And much like with Hellraiser, only the first Hellraiser movie. First one, Hellraiser is like the one Hellraiser movie I like. Like, Candyman is like a terrifying experience from start to finish, as you can't really be sure if the hooked hand special entity of the title actually exists in the physical world. And while it is full of grotesque violence, it's honestly more beautiful than it is horrific. The cinematography is fantastic. Philip Glass's musical score is absolutely sunline. Lyman. Like, honestly, I could go on and on about this, but I definitely recommend you check out Candyman if you have not seen it. It's one of the best horror movies in the 90s, probably easily the best horror film of the 90s in terms of scaring me. That's still the best horror film of the 90s is still Scream, guys. But I would also put this on second place behind Scream. For horror films released in the 90s anyways. But yeah, actually, definitely check it out. I'm on my favorite horror movies of all time, and especially if you're pumped for the new film coming out. And because, well, and guys, only watch the first one. Avoid 2 and 3; they suck. Plus, you don't need to watch them if you're prepping for the new one, because the new one is going to thankfully ignore those sequels. But anyway, here's how I would rank Candyman.
I am going to give Candyman a 10 out of 10.
Wow. I really felt good to review, but I don't know what I'll review next, but I might not. It probably won't be a horror movie I'll review next, but however, the next horror movie, when I do horror movie reviews again, next one is definitely going to be the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that'll be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.